Hey everybody, welcome back. Got some people with me today for my Rai deck tech. I have me as Krios or Braden. Above me will be Glass or Tristan from also
Hello.
Team Ordinary Bear. And then below is Rav, or actually introduce yourself. You have your own channel and all that.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm Rav. Most people know me. I'm sort of known as a Rai main myself, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. I just wanted, there's not a lot of us, so I had to, I
Yeah.
wanted to get some opinions, and the community's been asking some questions that I wanted a second opinion on because obviously everyone has their own takes and whatnot. And Tristan is the person that got me into the game and actually taught me how to play Rai, so I give him some credit, and he is really good at talking.
Congrats. Good
Professional
introduction.
yapper.
But so this is the list I ended up running at Chicago. I think mine and your list were relatively close together in cards. Some things differently you'll see that you don't really see a lot is it's pretty standard. Spirit of Fire, Rai 1, 2, 3, backup charger, and then the weirder card is Blinding Orb.
Good card.
Yeah, I put this in. I was kind of going crazy, and I was really scared of Tristan, and I realized that a lot of Tristans like to only have 3 cards up. Like they'll pass and they'll leave 3 cards in hand. So if you do some math and you have like the right setup for it, you can just grab a Blinding Orb, banish an Arcane card, gain a level, already an upside, and then it forces your Tristan opponent to not have an in-cap. You kind of just can just get around their in-cap. It ended up helping. The one match it did help. The other times I didn't really materialize it. Some other use I've seen for it. Another person who has been asking me to help with Rai stuff. He brought it out versus a Merlin, and the Merlin DG'd to 3, and then he Blinding Orbed them and forced the Merlin to put down all their cards so they couldn't Ghost a Pendragon. Like they only had 1 card left in hand rather than 3. And I was like, that's a pretty sick that's a pretty sick idea.
That's so brutal.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, slow down your Merlin opponents. I guess it's a good good
You
use of
told me
it.
about that line, and I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah, could use it.
Oh.
But besides that, standard things, Chalice, GCR, Lantern, mostly for Nico, and then I'm glad because Erupting showed up, so. Then, Tome, Storm Tyrant's Eye. So I ended up cutting the baubles that I was running before, and I think you did the same.
I agree.
It's just, with the amount of Sylvies, it's not worth it to spend 3 Regalia on baubles, and then Backup Charger just fills that slot infinitely better.
Yeah.
I'm so that baubles are dead now.
I mean,
Or for
I
the
think
most part dead.
baubles have been so bad to begin with. Like, I never liked having 3 baubles, so I have 2 dead Regalia cards in my entire material. Like, I could have been anything else that would have just helped.
It's also
progress
like
my
so
gameplay.
much worse now with them because of the sideboard changes.
Yeah, and
That's
also
true.
sometimes, you sit down with the Sylvie. At least when I was running them, my opponent would flip over North Street. I'm like, all right, well, I have 3 dead Regalia.
Yeah.
It's just
Instead of
3
2.
big old nothings.
Yeah.
Um,
Everything else just shows. I love Storm Tyrant's Eye personally. I run
Storm
it
Tyrant's
on
Eye is
my
my
list
favorite.
now.
What a lot of people don't realize about Storm Tyrant's Eye, you don't have to grab the Arcane card. You can grab the other cards.
That's
Grab
what's
the card.
ridiculous about that card.
And the greatest part, it's not even a draw. So it literally just puts in your hand. So if you, for some reason, facing one of the 4 Diana players that are still remaining, you could at least put it in
I
your
played
hand.
2 of them. I played a Wind Diana round 1 and a Fire Diana round 2.
Did you play my boy Bright on Wind Diana? No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But yeah, Storm Tyrant's Eye is great. I've had a lot of opponents when I use Storm Tyrant's Eye, I'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna grab this Careful Study, and they're like, you can't do that, and I'm like, yeah, I can.
Yep.
It's
This is
a
take
really
damage.
yeah, it's a really good versatile card. Love that card personally. And then obviously
Who needs Luxera's
Tome
map?
Tome.
That card's okay.
Sarah's map's eye.
Ever Tutor to Memory is decent.
Tutor to memory. Then we go into the main board. Sorry about the arts. This was my own personal thing. It's to keep track of what I still need to purchase because I am a psychopath. I'm holding off for a little bit, but I do like fancy things. Main board's relatively standard, except for some obvious silly little additions. For Careful Study. For Careful Study, we all know what the card does. It reads pure card advantage. It's just you play it, you get 6 enlightened counters, you draw 2 cards. Because this isn't a power overwhelming deck, so you don't need to hoard your enlightened counters, they're just draws. For Dungeon Guide, because we're playing Rai, you kind of need it. You have to try to get 3 as quick as possible, you want to have 8 arcanes, you want to hit level 8. The one Gelvis um,
Goated.
so originally I wanted to put an Arcane Elemental in because I wanted to get around spell shields, and there's a lot of times where like your opponent can stop, you know, one, like they can pop Safeguard Amulet. Arcane Elemental doesn't care about Sacred Amulet. I'm still just gonna hit you for 7. Like it was my original plan. Glass ended up saying run Geldis, which I hated, and then if you look at it in a more objective way, sometimes you just pay 6 Arcane cards and you have a 5/8.
Yeah, and
like
so
you can use it to level.
Part of my initial argument for it was like the reason that Wind makes such good use of Geldis is they have or not Geldis, Arcane Elemental, is with cards like Disorienting Winds where they can reuse their elementals and keep going with it, while Arcane Elemental is just, I'm going to swing for 7 and it's done in Fire Rai. Geldis he's just there.
He did end up hitting the field 3 or 4 times over the weekend. I will say the best thing about Geldis, and it felt real good to drop a Geldis and then clear a 5/5 Ethereal Slime. I just punched it in the nose and watched it die.
Wait a minute.
Wait, how did you put an Ethereal
Yeah,
Slime?
there's not my stealth.
Oh wait. Oh no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't Ethereal Slime. It was.
A little Luxum.
It was a 5/5 slime. I don't know. It was one of their slimes.
Probably Limitless.
Maybe a
Could have been a big
Limitless.
Limitless or something.
Yeah, but even there are smaller slimes. Gyarados was just clearing a slime every turn, which feels really good. It always will feel good to get rid of your opponent's allies.
It's not something Rai does a lot.
Yeah, that's why it was kind of nice. Peace or Union, obviously, we're a fog deck. It's kind of in our identity. We have to be able to survive. So 3 Peacefuls, 4 Resolute Stands, 3 Scry the Skies. I think this was a mistake.
Really? I'm a 3-man enjoyer. I don't think 4. I always
Yeah,
enjoyed.
I actually have your deck pulled up right here, Rev. It's where you have both 1 less Peaceful, 1 less Resolute in your main board as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was a mistake. I still ran Vanish in mine.
I dislike Vanish. I actually Vanish isn't in the list at all.
I think at this point, if you're running Fire and you want Vanish, you probably just go for Under Fire.
Yeah, 100%.
Hey, but that's an argument though, because I don't agree with it. Because half the time you're vanishing with, I want to go stealth as Rai. You can't afford to take the extra 4 damage. You just can't.
My argument for it is you can react to Korhazi's activation. It doesn't have to be during your recollection for Tristan.
Okay.
And then the reason I don't run it at any fog at all or any stealth at all is I've been punched in the face by an Ethereal Slime too many times.
Yeah, between that and Rose, it was one of those cards I wanted to cut, and I just really should have. And I just did it myself. Like, I agree. Just don't run it anymore.
Yeah. But I don't know. I like being able to see my entire deck with Scry. But the 1 turbocharge, it's in there because the backup charger, and also sometimes as Rai, if your opponent's also a slow deck, you get to go backup charger, turbocharge, and you get to pass with like 11 cards in hand, and that feels really good.
It's kind of gross.
Like that feels really
so
good. 4 Creator Shocks, best fire card in the game in my opinion.
You ever discarded a Voltaic Sphere with that card?
Yeah, like it goes great with Voltaic Sphere.
Best combo.
Like it's just pure advantage. Yeah. 2 Disintegrates, I had them because my locals at least, we have a Wind Sylvie that loves to go to level 5. So I have to disintegrate their Covenant of Thorns because the Ethereal Slime blocks all non-combat damage.
Oh yeah.
So I have to run Disintegrate main board. And then it also helps with Tristan. Not Tristan, Merlin, sorry. There are some Merlins. Yeah, you just get rid of Horse. Horse gets to die. I didn't hate it.
Or if you're desperate about it, you're just like, that Ghost Pendragon needs to die because it's going to kill me.
Yeah. Disintegrate's great. 4 Fireball. Kill spell. 2 Sparklight. This was mostly just there for the Sylvies. If they try to flash into Baby Green, or if they try to escape the wreckage to Baby Gray, you get to just kill it and they can't prevent it. It was also there for Tristan.
My favorite part about it is someone plays Escape the Wreckage targeting a slime, and they have like 2 cards up in their hand, and you're like, I want to Sparkle Light it, and they're like, 2 damage unpreventable, and you're like, yeah, cool slime shield, bud.
Yeah.
Did you ever Sparklight your dungeon guides this weekend?
No.
Oh,
it never came up. I never had them both in hand when it would have like I never had them both at the same time, or I would have, but no, I didn't really get to. Like I said, I only played against 2 Tristans. Like I didn't That was the other wind decks I saw were all wind allies, and they weren't running the stifling. But it was also there for Tristan. You can just kill Korhazi Outlook or force him to bounce it. Tether and Flames, I think, was a mistake.
Really?
It won me a game, but like Tether and Flames just felt like another fireball, but worse because it costs more, and they can just choose not to take it.
Yeah, I'm okay with them not taking it though, because usually I'm saving that Tether Flames for the in cap. I'm saving it for Storm Slide. I'm saving it for Shadow Strike.
But I'd
There's
rather
like
just
so many different
fireball them a second time.
Yeah, but if you don't have the fireball, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if you only have one fireball, it's fine. They don't take it. It's fine. You
Yeah.
rented a big combo piece from your opponent.
It was mostly there for Innervate Agility. That was mainly my target. Was I target their Innervate Agility because they still have to D-level, they still heal, but they don't get Spell Shroud or Stealth, or they take a bunch of damage.
I will say this had won me the game once because I had this and a fireball, and they decided to take the damage, not doing math. So I'm like, oh, you took the damage? Fireball?
Yep. Yep. It was. I think it was really good, but I think it was one of those cards that
I think Tether
I wish it was
has,
increasing
like,
danger.
Like it has weird spots. Like it could just be the 4th Scry the Skies, or like 2 increasing dangers, or something like that.
Like I wish I had increasing dangers. I cut them from this list, and I think that was a big mistake.
Yeah, I think with the Tether of Flames essentially just fills a flex slot in the deck, similar to how the Disintegrates are and stuff like that, where it's like there's X number of cards that could go in that slot, and it's really what are you looking at hedging for the most for your play style / what do you think you'll see in that game?
Yeah. I guess there's an argument to sideboard it too.
Yeah, like I would have rather it been in my sideboard. But and then on to the arcane cards, standard things. Anger the Skies, I love it. It clears allies. It does 4. 4 is a big number, even to slimes to some extent. It clears allies, and it's an arcane card.
One of the best board clears.
Yeah.
I think the only one that's like even comparable is Flame Sweep, and that requires like Bulwark Sword or Lorraine too.
Yeah, like Anger Skies hitting for 4 is so good. I love it so much more in Purge.
It gets around favorable wins.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then the standard Arcane Blast, Arcane Disposition. Disposition. I want your opinion on this. I've come to really just hate this card.
I've always been on the fence with this card. I mean, I ran 4X. Like, half the time I'm casting the card, I can't combo anymore for that turn. Like, half the time I'm just digging. So when I'm digging, it's usually just to, like, Peace Reunion return or something like that. I'm like, okay, I'm digging. I need to put as much down in my memory as possible. Oh, sweet. Peace Reunion? Good. Go past 15 cards out of my memory.
Yeah. But, like, other times I just see it and I'm like, ugh. It's just...
Half the time I use it. It's my memory bait. I'm literally putting it down so I can banish it. No different than when I was running Anger the Skies. If it was an ally matchup, Anger the Skies is always going down.
Yeah. And like Arcane Disposition, it gets really good. It gets absurdly better when you start having Voltaic Spheres in your graveyard.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's like a lot of the matchups I want to keep my Resolute in hand. I want to keep up my Spell Shield. Like I don't want to put everything down in memory and go, all right, shield's down, please don't kill me.
And it's literally a 50-50 gamble too every time you play this card, because you're just like, okay, if I miss the Peace Reunion, oh crap, I have no cards in hand. I'm dead. Like, there's nothing I can do. It's like such a gamble with the card half the time, unless you literally scry this guy stack to deck perfect.
Yeah. Like if Arcane Disposition, if we get any Arcane cards in the future, I think that would be the first one I would cut. I just don't like the...
I don't understand why Rai went back to running it.
Because we kind of... People...
There's not
Turbo
too
Rai.
many options.
Yeah, like Turbo Rai was the best version of Rai, and these... Like, you'll see my sideboard package, we'll get over that later, but like... People got really tired of running Advent Power because you're running 8 cards to get stopped by a Safeguard Amulet. And people just got tired of running it.
I just like running Power more than anything. More than Advent. Like, Advent was the card I would have cut this week for Anger. But I actually really enjoyed running Power Overwhelming.
Oh, I love Power Overwhelming. I love fireballing my opponent for 50.
Looking at Arcane, at the cards that, like... Looking at the entirety of Arcane, your other options are the Advent Power package and Shock Therapy compared to Arcane Disposition. It's just like, there's not enough...
Shock Therapy is a card.
Yo, I read Shock Therapy, and I went, yo, this card's sick, and then I read it a second time and went, oh, ally. And then I put the card back.
Also, like, I'm gonna be real, Shock Therapy is, like, way cooler if it was just class bonus. If it did not have that element bonus, that card's sick.
Yeah.
Which is like Voltaic Sphere is so good, because it's class bonus, not element bonus, so I don't have to worry about No Lantern preventing it.
Yup. But yeah, so the rest of the package was just, Arcane Sight, 4 of Arcane Sight, normal, 4 Erratic Bolt, kill card, 4 Spell Shot Arcane. I would go back and cut this to 3 and cut some other things to fit the increasing dangers back in. Spell Shot Arcane's great, but the amount of times you actually cast this card and it does anything feels so little.
To be fair, half the time you're casting Spell Shot Arcane to target yourself with your own Fireball or Arcane Blast to just draw a bunch of cards.
You gotta be careful with those.
You have to be very careful.
Yeah.
I tried to Spell Shot Arcane myself, my opponent was like, I'm playing a Slime Erupting for 1 damage. I just went, yeah. That's a thing you can do. And then Voltaic Sphere. We love 4 of Voltaic Sphere. A card is great. If you hit this with a Creative Shock, you're just pure gaming when you hit level 3.
Holding memory who is
and you get to up the chances of the amount of times that it becomes so relevant to, I only have to pay 2 for my Erratic Bolt, and then I get to banish those 2 and draw 2.
Yep.
And my Erratic Bolt gained 2 damage.
So good.
Or in response
to
your
3 for the Erratic Bolt.
I say pay 3 for Erratic. Hold on.
Yeah.
Well, if you have 2.
It only reduces by 1.
If you have 2. I did that over the weekend a couple times where it's I would have 2, and I'm like, oh, great, I get to just banish 2 Erratic Bolts.
2?
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had more than 1.
I got
banishing.
real
It's my memory bait.
Granted, if you Tome and play, it's essentially you're playing 3 for your Erratic Bolt.
Yeah,
because
3
you're
and then a
banishing your
Tome
whole
tap.
memory to draw 3 cards.
Oh, it's so good. Zero cost Firewall. But yeah, good card, great card. It's anytime, even Arcane Disposition. I will say there have been times when I play an Arcane Disposition, I'm I'm just gonna hold 2 Voltaic Spheres and hand a pass, so I get to discard 2 Voltaic Spheres.
That's fair.
I've been there. Sideboard wise, we have the finishing of the one peaceful to go up. And then we have the amazing package of Pyramid Amount of Power roaming Avenue to the Stormcaller. This was for Luxum, Tristan, and Merlin.
I'm in such a love-hate of Pyramid Mana.
That card's so clunky, but
sometimes it really gets you there.
It's the matchups I want it for, but half the time I'm in those matchups, and by the time I see it, it's also just because it's so little count. Okay, either I'm probably just winning the game in this vision anyway, because of how many cards deep I am.
Yeah.
If I don't have my 4 Arcane Blast or 2 Fireball or something like that in my hand, I just lost the game anyway.
Yeah.
No Pyramid Mana is going to save me.
I've definitely been in games where I cast I'll cast Power Overwhelming, be all right, I'm gonna go to level 20. I'm gonna cast Pyramid Mana. I'm gonna see the rest of my cards. And my opponent's I'm just gonna concede, and I'm all right. Fair enough. Glad we got there. The big thing that this card does that a lot of people, I've actually had to explain to a couple people, especially newer Rai players, newer players of the game, they don't understand the interaction of Advent of the Stormcaller doesn't care about Spell Shroud.
Nope. It is a skill.
Well, no, it's a spell.
No, it's a spell.
A spell. That's right, but it has to resolve.
But it chooses instead of targets. So you're not getting targeted by the spell, you're getting chosen by the spell.
Yep.
So when Tristan's D level or Sylvie's D level, or the horse, even if horse is on the field, you could still probably kill him.
Yeah.
So it gets around Spell Shroud, and that's why it's really there. It's just an extra get around Spell Shroud card. And then Safeguard Amulet is Safeguard Amulet. You bring it in against Sylvie to try to bandage the Storm Slime. Yeah. Tower of Rings for the allies matchup, and then Purge and Flames is also for the allies. Against Wind Robots, I would swap Purge and Disintegrate. They're the same card, but they're good in different matchups. So you can just kind of clear. You have extra board clears. But this was the Chicago list. I think Rai's not really in the best spot right now, but I will always have fun.
Hasn't been for a while.
Well, less meta. We had our time.
Not even. It was more popular at Worlds because you were in at least the Worlds attenders brought it, because you're in a matchup where 12 people bring in random decks, and why not play one of the best decks that literally just meant to high roll your way through your victories.
Well, even less meta. At Ascent at the Worlds Path of Steel, I did relatively good with Wind Rai, and then there was 2 regionals that I did relatively good with Fire Rai, Fire and Wind Rai. I think Rai, at least back then, was playable.
The moment
playable is fair.
When people disrespect Rai, he just blows them up. The problem is, in this format, you get to play a game plan that, in a sense, disrespects Rai without actually disrespecting him. Yeah, the 2 decks that were the most Incapacitate and Stifling Trap specifically.
The 2 decks that I'm the most afraid of are the 2 decks that can just do whatever they want and kill me anyways. Like, Slimes is a turn faster than Rai, it feels like, and sometimes Nico double Icebound slams you and you just kind of cry a little bit.
Yeah, and then Tristan is like, you go to hell and die, because Veiling Breeze.
Veiling, Stifling, in caps.
I've actually always enjoyed the Sylvie matchup. I don't know if I'm just high rolling Sylvies. I was like going into playtesting my last like 2 weeks before going into Chicago. I was like 5-6-0 in the Sylvie. I was like, this matchup's free.
I think Sylvie's not the. I think Sylvie is a solid just 50-50. Like, I think Sylvie is straight down the middle. One of the two decks is going to win, and the other deck's going to go, yeah, there's nothing I could have done to stop them.
I had this conversation. I don't remember who all it was with, like, ages ago, early in this meta, where it was like, I think Sylvie is one of those decks where if Sylvie has a perfect draw, there's nothing that any deck can do. They just die.
Oh, me and you talked about that. The perfect Sylvie draw means they just kind of win.
They win, period.
Yeah,
and there's nothing you can do.
Past the deck and our thoughts, I do have a couple of questions submitted by some people in the main Cord on the Rai channel, and then people DMing me that, you know, I can give as much feedback as I want, but there are a lot of other Rai players that I respect and I learned a lot from and I stole decks from to modify and make my own, and you're one of them. You're one of the main Rai players, so I wanted to ask you some of these questions. One of them was, they wanted to ask how did you feel about Tether and Flames? I understand that it's a good card, but was it worth like the slots in your deck? Which we kind of answered a little bit.
Yeah, so for me, I valued it a lot. I almost wish I ran 2 in the main, but I also did a weird Sparklight Tether 1-1 split.
Yeah.
It was very weird. The games that came in was really good. I had some bad matchups, but my matchup sucked. I was literally allies, Tristan allies. So Tether Flames is just purely dead in the allies.
Yeah.
Not a thing in the world that card's good for. And so it's like, I like it more in the sideboard more than probably the main board now. I went into the matchup thinking a little more Nico, a little more Sylvie, a little more Tristan matchups. So I'm like, Tether Flames would have been great into these, because it's either they take the damage, I can just counter or do whatever I want, and otherwise it's just a card in hand, but half the time I was discarding it. It's a weird feeling, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I think
It's just a Creative Shock deal too, though.
I did that a couple times. I definitely did that a couple times. It kills Shimmercloak Assassin if you discard it. Creative Shock.
Creative Shock also says choose.
Yeah, Creative Shock also does say choose. But yeah, I feel the same way. I think Tether is either a sideboard card or a cut, just personally. Another one was, how come Fragment and Spirit doesn't see play in Rai? Like, isn't that exactly what Rai wants, is to just draw more cards?
See, I sat there and I looked at that list. I looked at Fragment Spirit, and I'm like, in theory, this is good, but man, being a card short sucks.
Yeah. So I am notoriously a Glimpse Spirit hater in Rai. I did it last set. I did it this set. I've done it every meta. I play the normal Spirit, and people are like, why don't you want a Glimpse? And I'm like, because if I bottom 5 cards and I draw 5 worse cards, I'm even more upset than I am if I just draw 7 bad cards.
Yeah. Like, if I draw 6 Arcane or 7 Arcane off the rip, yeah, I'm just dead and I just had a bad shuffle. Just go next.
Yeah. But like, if I glimpse 6 and I bottom, 5 Arcane, and I bottom 4 Arcane because I want to keep some Arcane in hand, and I draw 4 more Arcane, I'm just like, well.
Yeah. Because that time you draw, you're like, okay, Arcane Blast, yeah, I want to keep this. Spell Shield, I can see you keeping this. Oh, Arcane Sight, yep, still want this. Well, yeah, I don't want to bottom any of this.
Yeah.
It's like, but also, I need a Dungeon Guide and Creative Shock.
Yeah, but if you are going to run a Glimpse Spirit for the consistency, I mean, why would you...
I think is way better.
You want to heal 6. It stops... you mill less from Ravishing Finale. You can get around shenanigans with Tristan. Sometimes better into allies. Like, there's a lot of better things that Serene does over Fragmented. Because if your entire argument is draw a card, Rai draws so many cards.
Yeah.
Like, when you're level 0 with Rai, you're drawing so many cards that the one card that you rebuy from your Fragment doesn't matter as much. You'd much rather just prevent your opponent more questions with the 6 from Serene.
Yeah, and then, if your argument is you want the card, play the normal Spirit, you get a card. There's your card. That's just how I felt about it. I did the same thing. When I first saw it, I went, yo, this is great for Rai. I was like, this is... And then I, like, kind of played it more, and I was like, it just feels mediocre.
Yeah. And it isn't like you get the early cheat of the Fragment like Merlin does, where level 2 Merlin eats a float. It's level 3, you could and sack it. Or Loki Spice. Arisana, that they have the herb. Sack the herb to gain a level.
Yeah. Or like Sylvie can grab Beast Bondiers at level 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to go into that. Like, I'm typically a Merlin player, and I feel like the Fragmented feels a lot more at home in Merlin, because for a while I was playing some form of Serene in Merlin. The problem is you can never really take proper advantage of Serene in Merlin because you're so reliant on fireballs when your kill cards, and so much of your deck is fire. You can't release it. So the Fragmented being that glimpse and then also getting you that card back later feels a lot better in Merlin because she's able to cheat on it.
That's actually a good point too, because if you're running one of the Serene Spirits in Rai, like you have to completely readjust how your deck is built, because you go down from 4 fireballs probably to 3. You're running
You can't
your 4
run
increased mages,
tethers.
or you're probably running 4 Gloomspire Black Market.
Yeah.
because it doesn't worry about the activation because you already have it on the field.
Yeah,
Like,
and,
it doesn't change your whole deck.
You're cutting your end game fire, like you're cutting your disintegrates, you're cutting your purge in flames, you're cutting your tether from the in flames, because you just, when it gets to the end of the game, you can't play those. You're not fire anymore if you have to release.
Yep.
I mean,
And then you're
that's
purely
why
relying
Luxum's
on Arcane Blast.
That's why Luxum's Inner made such good use of the Serene Spirit, is because, you know, at the end of the
Great shock.
at the end of the metagame, you look at the Luxum list and it was like, all right, how many fire cards do you have in your deck? It's like
3.
somewhere between like 7 to 9.
It's like 4 creative shocks,
creative shock,
4 planet
planet
explosives, and like that's
and
it.
then, like, maybe focus lands.
Yeah, maybe 2
Like,
focus
that's
lands.
it.
And we saw Chess Club do where they were able to do the Serene split with water during Nats and stuff because of how little fire Lux actually relied on, which was super cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but
Yeah, it was super cool. I liked it. And then another one that I got that I love to answer, because this is a really big one that newer players won't understand if you give them the simple, like, you want to go to level 3 as Rai.
why Gildas?
Why Gildas? Nah. I did answer that one. I already answered the Gildas one. But is there any reason to not instantly Dungeon Guide to 3? Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see the Dungeon Guide and you also see the Peaceful unit and you go, I think the Peaceful keeps me alive a little bit safer. And then you materialize GCR, and then you Dungeon Guide and you get to draw a card, and you're just, yeah, it's a turn slower, but sometimes Fog is a lot better than a Dungeon Guide.
Sometimes being alive is better than being at level 3 and dead as hell.
Yeah, and like I've definitely been there.
And sometimes I've been in positions too where, because we're in the Stifling Trap meta, I've literally Dungeon Guide to 2.
Yep.
To actually do something else. Because, sure, you want to Stifling Trap my Dungeon Guide to 2? I'm okay with that perfectly fine.
Yeah, I guess
give
I'll
it the
level
same
anyways.
value.
Yeah, there's 3
Yeah.
cards in memory. But yeah, like I've definitely been there. There's a lot of reasons to not Dungeon Guide to 3. There's a lot of options, like if you don't have enough Arcane, but you have the Dungeon Guide, or say you have 2 Arcane, if you have a Fog and you know you, like, if there's a 90% chance you will not die, you can materialize something else, and then you can Dungeon Guide to help you, stay alive or help you get card advantage. If they get greedy and they take you to above 20 and they don't kill you, or they put you exactly at 20 and don't kill you, you now get to materialize a Chalice of Blood, and then level with Dungeon Guide.
Yeah.
And you're
And
real good off.
There's also the perpetual threat of Chalice of Blood that it presents is, like, one, it's a level 3 deck that, their life total is going to get high because they're kind of a combo deck, they're not going to do too much. Do I have enough to push them? And will I have enough reach after they've hit their 3 to be able to actually finish them? And so Chalice of Blood creates, like, questions that people have to answer, and that's probably, and that's also why the Serene Spirit heal is good, because the more questions you ask your opponent that make them play unoptimally, it just allows you to play better.
And also it gives them the chance to forget. If they don't think about Chalice of Blood, or if they don't think about Serene, they go for the kill and you heal, they're upset.
Oh, so many people I go after, and they go, oh yeah, Chalice Blood's a card. I go, yeah, probably Rise, like, one of the 2 decks that still run it outside of Merlin. Like, no one really runs this card anymore. Actually, no, Merlin doesn't even run it anymore. Merlin's too material deck heavy because it's hybrid. Like, no one's running Chalice of Blood anymore, maybe Tony.
I wish I could run Chalice of Blood. The Lorraine line is just way too important, though.
Remember, Chalice of Blood was possibly on the chopping block to be banned?
Yeah. People,
for, like,
even after, like, post-Chicago, people were like, they might hit Chalice, but I was like, for what? It's like, no decks are... It's like, what, just because they don't like Rai? Like,
Yeah.
Fuck you, right?
yeah, like...
No, I love all the people who are talking about, oh, Regalia card that turns off your banishment. I'm like, so Rise is super dead.
Yeah, it's
Rai
like...
is so dead.
Yeah, and then the final question that I want your opinion on, because we have different meta-analysis and stuff like that, everyone does.
Yeah.
What do you think is really pushing Rai out of the meta? Or,
Ooh.
like what do you think his worst matchups really are? Because personally, I know my answer is...
So Tristan's technically one, personally. There's an argument for allies. And the only reason I say argument for allies is because if you don't draw any of your fog, that's just an instant loss matchup.
You lose to allies unless you hit 2 fog. 2 fog
Yeah.
opening hand or you're dead.
Any of the aggro matchups because of that. It's probably those mostly. But I haven't had issues. I didn't get to play Nico at all. Like, I have no idea how this deck does Nico. Like, in paper to me, I thought it was fine.
I went 1-1 against Nico. Both of them went to a game 3. Or no, one of them went to a game 3, one of them did not. It feels real 50-50. If they, slam ravishing you, yeah, you're out of luck.
They had the nuts.
But, like, and then the other one I lost, or sometimes you get there before them. And like me, I just materialize Nullifying Lantern before they can slam, and then I'm happy.
Yeah.
And then the other one was, I lost to the other Nico because they would just pass with 9 cards in hand, and across 2 games, I got counterspelled 7 times.
Yeah, and that's the worst feeling, too, which is also why Nico could be 50-50. But in terms of pushing it out, I'll say maybe the most controversial, not even controversial, probably the most truest thing as a Rai player, Sylvie is just a better Rai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love if my Advent to the Stormcaller and or Fireball was attached to a 5/3 body and couldn't be incapped.
Oh, and then draw me more cards when it dies?
Yeah, and then Reckless Conversions myself. Yeah.
Yeah, like, sure. I mean, like, honestly, Sylvie is just a better Rai. It's like, if you're playing Rai and you want to think, like, Rai, you have to think so much more than you probably did with Sylvie. Like, I would have honestly played Sylvie if I just was more comfortable in the meta at Chicago.
Yeah.
If I was more comfortable in the mirror, I should say, I would have probably played Sylvie. But, like, Sylvie's just a way better Rai, and it has the gimmicky part of a little bit of Merlin, and you just sort of gain value as the game goes on. And it's just
imagine if Rai level 2 red draw 2 cards. Like,
yeah. like, oh, please, give me it. Like, even, God, Tristan level 2. Draw 2 cards, thanks.
Yeah, like, all the decks are just pure card advantage at this point.
Yeah.
And Rai doesn't really get that advantage. Like, we get that advantage at level 3.
Like, Rai has, like, Tome of Sacred Lightning, where it's like, you put out Tome of Knowledge, you gain a level, and then you put Tome on top of it, and you can draw a card every turn. But it's like, Sylvie has Gaia's Blessing, which says draw a card for every animal or beast that's on top of your deck. Maybe more.
So good.
Give me a better errata for Rai, where Rai no longer has the first mage spell. Just make it
Every mage spell.
Give me a light encounter.
Oh.
Let me zoom.
I've begged Chica, I've begged Silidar. I'm like, just give me. You don't even have to give me Reckless Conversion back. Just give me some Rai support, please.
No.
Just give me anything. Like, give me a card.
Give me a worse Reckless Conversion, maybe. Like, maybe half. Give me half of it.
Make it cost 2. I don't care.
Yeah.
I do think that the if it wasn't a once return for the inherited effect for Rai Archmage, you do potentially have like a super interesting deck with like in Windrai with like the Forecaster and Windless Forecaster like doubling your prep or your Enlighten, and then like Disorienting Winds, Conduit of the Mad Mage, and Arcane Elemental.
God, I wish Conduit of the Mad Mage
you have
was
a line
good.
for like an insane combo deck.
My
super
my
cool.
other dream for Rai is give us some Enlighten counter cards that aren't based on level. I would love to play the other Rai, where it's like pay for Enlighten counters to tap it and do like copy a spell, but every form of Enlighten counters we get cares about levels.
Well, the problem is, half the copy targets are so bad.
Like your real.
Yeah, but I'd love to
target-
copy a Fireball.
Your
Yeah.
best copy target as Rai Mana Weaver is like, I'm playing against a Merlin and they cast Majestic Spirit, so I'm gonna copy it and get my own horse.
Yeah, that's literally the only time I ever played it. I'm like, cool. I have to hard level this Arcane Blast, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Like when we copied this Fireball, how much does it hit for?
yeah, because like if we had more Enlighten cards that gave Enlighten counters that didn't care about level, we could play Power Overwhelming in the other Rai, and then you could double cast your Advent, and that's pretty funny. Or you could double cast your Arcane Blast and stuff like that, but it's just so hard in that Rai.
What if you played Critical?
But give me Mastermind Scheme for Enlighten counters. That's my dream.
Oh man, and you give me like agility on top of it?
Yeah, Agility 3. I want all of it. I want all of it. I
no,
want the entire card.
There's you sort of have that in Pyramid Mana, but the problem is it scales with
Level.
Overseer, not
It
Mana
scales
Weaver.
with level. I don't want it to scale with level.
Actually, no, better idea. So we make a new mechanic. It's going to be called like Spellcast or something like that. Where instead of agility 3, you get to draw 3, maybe discard 1 or 2.
So we're gonna make this really cool mechanic. It's called Storm.
Dude, you know how much I've been begging for Storm? Like, I don't even play Storm in Magic. And as soon as I play White, because I like to play like Jeskai Control with spells, like pseudo combo.
I mean, technically we have Storm. It's called Conduit of the Mad Mage.
No,
Yeah.
that's not Storm. That's Depression.
That's called Battery Acid.
Yeah, that's Depression. But yeah, overall, meta-wise, I think Sylvie's a better Rai. I think Tristan pushes you out of the meta. And I think your best matchups are 50-50 at best.
Yeah.
Because, like, even your good matchups, like, when allies can run in-cap.
Yeah.
Every deck just gets to run a
good.
counter spell.
And the worst part is, it's not even, I wouldn't even say 50-50. It's like maybe like 40-60 unfavored you. If not, maybe you can argue 45-55.
Yeah,
Because
like,
it's so draw dependent. So I wouldn't even call it 50-50.
Even
Because
for the
50-50
longest-
means you're fine no matter what.
yeah, like, even for the longest time, going into Chicago, people were like, how do you feel about Winterest? And I was like, yo, if I see a Winterest and I concede and I go get lunch. Like, like I felt like it was an 80-20. I ended up going 50-50 into it. Like, I won one, lost one. But it just, like, it feels like such an unwinnable matchup.
In the game I won, I just had the nuts. Like, I had, like, double Dungeon Guide in hand and just, like, popped off turn 4.
Yep,
Like,
yep.
turn 4 win. I was like, yeah. He's like, dude, you had nuts. I'm like, yeah, that's just the only way to get through this matchup. Just pray you draw dead, and I just pop off.
Yeah, it's great. But yeah, so thanks for hanging out with us, and
Of course. Thank you for having me.
obviously, you know, if you want to plug your socials, your Twitter, and all whatnot, go for
I
it.
don't plug
Your
much.
sick merch.
Your sick
I know.
merch, that's true.
Thanks.
Make some Rye merch. Make Rye
it's
merch.
in the queue. All right, I have to make. Here, you guys get the drop on this channel. Have a coming in a gin line coming out. I'm trying to plan it for October. Like literally,
That's sick.
awesome.
That's sick.
like we had the little spoiler Merlins where it's like, oh, beads. Like, what has beads? They're linking it, and I was like, this is nuts.
That's
So like,
sick.
yeah,
That's
I have
sick.
that merch line dropping come October. So I'm
I actually need
hoping.
to put in my order for something.
Oh, my orders have been closed because, at least for you talk about A and B orders.
For the
Merch.
merch.
Oh, the merch, yeah. Let me know. Those orders close Friday. But like I said, anyone want to check me out? I'll spell it out because it's so much easier. Because even I don't know how to pronounce my own name. It's literally a WoW generated name, and I've ran with it ever since.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
Ravin is my YouTube. Add TCG at the end. You get my Twitter and everything else. But thank you guys for having me. I mean, most happy to talk Rye stuff. I mean, very
Always.
rarely I get to talk Rye. There's all 10 of us.
Yeah.
all these players. There's
It's
all
like-
10 of us.
Like you two, Hyoka, and then like some other people.
Toby in EU. He's all the way in EU though, so yeah, I don't count Toby.
There's the
I
people
love
that
Toby.
pop in and play Rye for a tournament and go, wow, this is so hard, and then leave.
Yeah, literally, I had a buddy message. He's like, "Oh, I played Rye in the Scarlet tournament. I never had to think so hard in my life." I was like, "Yeah, Rye's just doing math." And there's a reason why you hear me have to go, "I think I do." YOLO, screw it. I'm not doing this math.
you'll
Look.
do like you'll start doing the math, and then like half you're like, yeah, it's there, whatever.
Yeah, I lost the math halfway through, and I go, "Yeah, I think I got it. Like, it seems right." I don't
I
think
don't
it
know.
was calculated.
I'm still impressed Tristan knows how to like properly play Rye because I quote unquote taught him to play Rye. The last time I played Rye, Tithe Proclamation wasn't a card, and you could still play Reckless Conversion.
Yeah.
And
Actually,
Dungeon Guide stood your champion up.
before we wrap up, I have one weird material deck question for you.
Go for it.
Because I'm a believer in it personally. Chalice of, I mean not Chalice, Quicksilver Grow.
I'm gonna be so real.
like it.
I like drawing cards.
I mean, I do too, but I also like putting Tome of Knowledge underneath the Grail. Just
Yeah,
activating
I've-
it.
I-
Just getting a good Grail.
My biggest one is there have been a lot of times where like I physically cannot level up because I have 7 normal cards and I want to draw a
Sure.
card. But I have
Alright,
there's
so-
definitely a lot of decks that I've built where Grail's main board. I think Grail's more important main board when you're scared of certain things. Like against Xander, I think it's way better main board.
Yep.
Because there could you shove your safeguard under it, you shove like last Nats. You put safeguard or nullifying lantern because you're gonna see an erupting or a Xander at some point.
Yeah, a Scepter's on the field.
Yeah, like, so I think it's a great card. I think there's an argument for both. It really just depends on what you're planning on seeing.
And no, we don't play Temporal Spectrometer because we need to actually level Banishing Arcane.
I do need
for
to
any
banish
Rai
that
people
one.
watching.
I love Temporal Spectrometer, but that card is
Braden Rai.
Yeah, can't play it in Rai.
fun. It's fun.
Unplayable.
But yeah,
Thanks for the cheap foil one, by the way, Rav.
No problem. It worked out. Hey,
Yeah.
hook up people. That's what I do.
any other questions? Any comments?
No, I think that's it. Thank you for having me. And like I said, I'm happy to join. I'm happy for the cross content of getting to join people and talk about decks.
Yeah, more Grand Archive content, the better. Honestly, that's how I feel.
Yeah, definitely.
But, all right. See everybody later, and thank you for tuning in.